So, I don't know if I should be telling this story, since it still gives me nightmare whenever I think about it. I am a freshman in high school, and this happened in preschool, so I'm just going to recall what I remember. Every normal day, I would be on the bus. It would always pull up to my stop. Normally, my bus was screaming with kids all ready to go to school. I was always the quiet one. So when the bus pulled up, something was off. Our bus driver was waving us in the bus, but when I stepped into it, there were no kids at all. Literally none. Normally I am the second to last stop for the bus, so this was very suspicious. This bus driver was different. He looked like he was high off his mind on something. I asked him why there were no other kids on the bus, and he said no kids were on the bus and I was the first stop. I refused to get on that bus, and he just kept pestering me to get on the bus in a calm voice as if he was talking to a child. I did not buy it. I ran inside. His eyes went huge and he just speeded away in his bus. Then the actual bus pulled up looking how it had always been. What happened, I will never ever forget. The man was never found, and I'm glad there has been no more incidents. I had awesome parents who'd let me sleep in the living room on weekend nights when I was very young because my sister was a light sleeper and I could stay up until dawn. But of course, I always end up sleeping on the couch because Nick at Night made me tired. So, one night I woke up to the prickly feeling, like an instinct. Just bolted into a sitting position and stared out the front window. We lived in rural Georgia, so you can imagine the magnitude of trees. In perfect light cast from the moon, I see a silhouette of someone in this fucking tree. The family dog dashes to the window and is snarling into the glass. Terrified, I run into my parents' room and try to explain to my parents that there's a strange person outside. Dad grabs something defensive and darts outside with the dogs to beat the wax off that hot head. I tremble in Mama's arms until Dad comes home and says he saw no one and to go to bed. I decide to sleep in my regular bedroom. I fill in my sister in as to what happened. Dad is making regular rounds in the house with a cup of coffee. We're all still and I finally think I can sleep. But nope, I couldn't. I noticed the man outside my window. From what I can see in the moonlight, he gives me a shush signal and runs away. Just turns around to run a straight line away. I swear I couldn't stop crying for what felt like hours. When I was about 8 years old, during recess at school, I noticed a bunch of other kids outside a storage room yelling and warning to others not to approach the door because there was an eyeball staring back at you. I was curious because I didn't understand what they meant, but I could see their fear was real because their faces were pale white as they would try to deter me from taking a peek through the keyhole. I remember bending down slightly so I could get a closer look inside, and sure enough, there was an eyeball staring back at me, and it freaked me out so much I peed my pants on the spot. It was only later in the day, after I had ended up at the nurse's office because of the commotion us kids had created, that a janitor had to go into the room to inspect what this whole mess was about. Turns out that someone had placed a mirror against that door, and the eyeball we were seeing was our reflection. I was around 11 years old, and I woke up in the middle of the night to the horrifying sight of a man straddled on top of me with his hands over my mouth and nose. He told me to roll over and not scream. I rolled onto the floor and tried to scream bloody murder. I say tried because when you are truly terrified, it can take a second to find your voice. My mom heard me screaming and came in and fought with the guy. He was at least 6 foot, she was 5'3", and scared him enough with the fighting and screaming that he took off out the window he had come in through. Never did catch him. I'd like to preface this post by saying I'm a reasonably rational person. I don't really scare easily, but this was so clear. It felt so real. I don't know what to think. Last night, around 2:20 a.m., I felt that there was someone in my room and woke myself up to see a guy sitting next to me on my bed, watching me sleep. He was a youngish, maybe late 20s, early 30s, with a beard. I looked straight at him, but didn't feel threatened or scared, and just said hello to him, like it was perfectly normal. He had this look on his face, like he was shocked I'd seen him. I rolled over and could still feel him there, until the rational part of my brain kicked in, and I turned on the light and sat up. Of course, no one there, and the person was gone. I know it could have been a dream, but it was so real, and it's rare that I even have dreams that I remember, let alone something that is so clear and vivid. While I'm not overly freaked out, I'm finding it hard to sleep right now.